Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friends of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm your host, Sarah.
And this week on the show, we are previewing Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2022. We are in the home stretch, baby. We are almost there. We're so close, Sarah. I get to see you in person in just a couple days.
I can't believe we're about to have best friendship in real life and not just through this Zoom screen that we have had for the past 3 years.
Amazing. It's just simply amazing. It's just simply amazing. And it's so wonderful because you and I met at Celebration Chicago. We formed the podcast after that. And now we're here. It's just insane to think about. And I'm so excited. And it's even more special because we are coming up on our 3-year podcasting anniversary on May 27th. But Sarah, we have something even more important going on May 26th, which in my mind is a little bit of a celebration of our friendship and our podcast anniversary. So tell the people what we got going on, which is big news for Friends of the Force.
All right, everybody. We are, if you haven't already heard from our Twitter, we are a late addition to the Star Wars Celebration Anaheim podcast stage. We learned about this after we recorded our Friends of the Fourth episode. Then I got COVID. So this is a late announcement on the podcast of that. But we will be on the podcast stage May 26th, 2022 from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. That is right after the Lucasfilm Studio Showcase. Please join us. We would love to see you there. We'll be probably talking about anything that we get from the showcase. That will probably be the most pressing and exciting news. We will also have some giveaways. We have some Friends of the Force buttons, bookmarks, postcards, little prequel buttons that say Hayden Sans, McGregor Sans, and Natalie Sans. They're hilarious.
Amazing.
We would love for you to have them. And we are just like so excited to be in person recording for an hour in front of everybody, joined by all of our friends and listeners. So we really, really hope that you can be there. And if you are not able to be there because you're going to another panel or you're not at Star Wars Celebration, do not worry. It will be on our podcast feed.
Yes. Yeah, we plan to get that up within the first 24 hours of it happening. And it's going to be such a special day. I just can't believe that we have been given this opportunity. And it's going to be so exciting to see some of our listeners at Celebration and to get to do it live, because that'll be our first time recording in person together, which, we thought would just be like in a hotel room. And now it's going to be in a podcast room seating 200 people. So, we're excited to see many of you there, hopefully. And let's fill that bad boy up, because we here at the Friends of the Force want the friends coming in full force.
Wow, see what
I did there?
That was really good. I will tell you, the podcast stage is room 208 AB. Mark it in your calendars. Put it in your phone notes.
Sounds like a really fun droid name. 208B.
Yeah, no, really though. But seriously, we would love to see you there. It would mean the world to us. That's it.
And we have one other place that you can find us at Celebration as well. We've talked about this quite a bit on the podcast. Also happening Thursday night.
It's happening.
You know, folks. You already know what I'm about to say, don't you? You know. We are going to be at Denny's. Yes, that's right. Denny's! We've been talking about Denny's for so long. We're doing a Friends of the Force Denny's meetup. We're just going to go. We're going to eat some breakfast for dinner. Who knows what'll happen? And we are going to be at Denny's from 9:30 to 11 p.m. Pacific time at night.
Yes.
And we will be at the location that is 2080 South Harbor Boulevard. So if you want to come eat pancakes, bacon and eggs with us right before you go back to your hotel rooms and watch Kenobi promptly at 12 a.m., an hour after this Denny's meetup ends, come join us. It'll be fun. Talk about Kenobi.
Yeah, it's going to be super casual. We're hoping to kind of get together everybody who is there at 9:30 for a table or a couple tables close to each other. If not, join whenever. We'd love to see you at the Denny's. It's going to be super casual. Denny's, pancakes, hash browns, bacon, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Coffee. Maybe.
And if for some reason Denny's is like a total bust, plans subject to change. we will communicate.
Just in case.
Because we're so, that whole Thursday time slot at night thing is there's a big question mark about it right now. And we'll talk about that in our episode today, but very excited to finally be doing Denny's, very excited about the podcast stage. And lastly, we will be at Star Wars Night as well on Friday. So if you want to catch us at Star Wars Night, if you see us in the parks, please say hello. come up to us. We'll take a picture with you or talk with you or whatever you want to do. Like, we'll take selfies. Sounds like a fun idea to me. So
I'm pro selfies.
Yeah, always pro selfie. So that's really exciting. I can't wait to do all these fun activities, and I'm glad it's finally here. It's hard to believe I'm now on vacation for 2 weeks from work. Out of office is on, and we're golden. With that being said, we're going to hop over to our episode with the wonderful host over at What the Force podcast, Marie Claire. She joined us for this preview episode where we're talking all about tips and tricks for Celebration, what to expect, whether you're a returning veteran or if you're a first timer. I think this episode's especially helpful for first timers of Celebration. And we also discuss our excitement for this specific celebration in the age of Star Wars streaming and Star Wars TV. It's a unique one. It's a new sort of vibe for Star Wars. And we talk all about that, as well as, what panels to expect, which ones we're most excited for, and everything you need to know for the whole week ahead.
We know this is a late breaking episode, so we're hoping to catch you before you finished up your last minute packing checks and have solidified all your plans. If not, join us for the ride, but we hope that we can help you out just a little bit. So without further ado, on to our conversation with Marie Claire.
Folks, we have made it to the final stretch towards Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. It is near us. It is starting next week. We are so excited here at Friends of the Force. And joining us for our special preview episode where we're talking all about what we're most excited for, tips and tricks for any first timers, it's Marie Claire from What the Force. Marie Claire, welcome.
Hi.
So good to have you.
I am a friend of the Force.
It's
officially.
True.
And I am here. I'm sitting on the couch that I imagine that it is the little cartoon Brad and Sarah chatting.
Yeah.
We live in a cartoon world now.
Totally.
It's very exciting.
But we are getting hyped for the celebration of Star Wars.
I can't believe it's here.
I was listening to Star Wars music in my car earlier today and getting emotional because I had it on shuffle for all of the movies, including the spinoffs, and I listened to like 4 fanfares. So it was really emotional. And I can't wait. I'm very normal behavior. It's all fine.
Yeah, I would say this celebration is just such a unique experience, even compared to other cons. You and I were talking about that before recording, and it's a really fascinating thing just to be surrounded by pretty much everybody who loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It's awesome because it's like, oh my gosh, this community is so large. Like, the Star Wars fan base is so big and they're so passionate. But also, like, the community is so small and you start to see everybody that you know. And it's kind of magical in that way because you're like, oh, wait, I know you from Twitter. We've talked for the past 1,000 years, and like, that's really, really fun to have those sort of, Spider-Man pointing memes in real life.
Yeah. Realization. And then you're like, and what's your at? Which is like the weirdest thing.
that, or I don't know your first name. I only know your handle. So
I only know.
What do you like to be called?
Yeah.
So this celebration is very interesting because like we're talking about, it's been 3 years since Chicago. Chicago is the thing that birthed this podcast and made Sarah and I friends. We actually met in person for the first time there.
And the only time.
And the only time. We have not met since. I don't actually know if she's a real person, if she's a paid actor. This whole thing could be a phishing attempt to get my, bank account information. I don't know yet.
That's true. That's true.
We're going to confirm next week.
I've got the Amazon password, so we're almost there.
She's like one step closer to the ultimate identity theft takeover. But this is so exciting because this was originally August 2021, then it was like August 2022, and then it got moved to Memorial Day 2022, and we're like, is it kind of happening? Is it not happening? And now we're finally here and it's happening, and I hope it doesn't get canceled at the last second because that would be really awkward.
I think they're taking enough precautions as well. I've been actually very impressed with the amount of precautions that they're taking. I was very worried for a very long time. I know that that's going to make things a little bit slower. And so that's one of the things that from prior celebrations, I will probably have to wrap my head around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good on Celebration for not also changing like safety precautions at the last minute, because I've seen a lot of conventions being like anime. There was like an anime convention they changed their masking rule 4 days before the convention, which is super awful.
That was this past week, and it was masks and vaccines, and they were like, okay, and we're not actually requiring either of these things anymore. So see you there on Friday. And
I couldn't
literally
imagine.
a couple of weeks before, they said, no, we will not be changing our safety guidelines prior to the event starting. So they lied. But we don't have to deal with that for Celebration. Hopefully, I mean, the clock is still ticking, but like I'm I'm hoping nothing happens. But I think we're really just excited to be back and grateful for the fact that they are taking precautions in the first place and seem to be sticking with those, because it really does allow us to be in at least a bit safer environment, even though there's going to be tens of thousands of us there. And as long as we each do our part to keep ourselves safe, we in turn are keeping our community safe. And I think that's really important. And I hope that people follow the rules.
Yes. And I think it's important to reiterate, like, it's vaccinations, or you have to prove that you don't have COVID via test. You have to be wearing a mask the whole time, and there's a no hugging rule, which is going to be really, really hard.
I don't think that one's going to be enforced. I will say.
Yeah. And I know, like,
sus.
Mike Chan, who just came out with Brotherhood. He's actually going to be carrying around a portable HEPA filter air purifier. And I was like, that's so smart. I live in Canada. There's no way I'm getting one of those beforehand.
You can get them on Prime. And the one that he has is like $35. So
cool.
Like,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, they're like personal size. And I think that's another, important tool if that's something that you feel like you need. And I totally respect Mike for posting about it a lot too, because I was looking into them as well. And I think they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, he has an immunocompromised family member and just wants to be super careful. And I totally respect that. And so if that's something that would help you feel safer, I recommend checking those out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really think that this celebration, I mean, all the precautions are in place, so it's definitely going to be a different celebration. But I legitimately think this might be one of the best celebrations. And maybe that's like a bold prediction, but I think just the wait since the last one and just sort of the buildup of hype, and I think there was like this sort of wave after Celebration Chicago of like new podcasts and new fandom friendships. At least speaking for myself, I feel like the doors kind of blew wide open there. And now it's like we've been waiting to like meet all of our online friends, and we've been through so much with COVID and we're still going through it. And then like on the content side of the house, we're getting Kenobi. It's the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. Like, we're getting a lot of good High Republic books, like a new era of publishing and all these like cool things that are coming out. Andor, like, it's just a really good time to be a Star Wars fan. And I feel like this is sort of the reclamation of that in-person fandom experience. It's one thing to pester each other online and bicker and argue and, debate the same talking points over and over every couple weeks when people feel like it. And then it's another thing to like be there in person, seeing people and talking to people and like actually sharing, the love of why you're there. Do you guys kind of feel like this could have a potential to be like one of the better celebration experiences that we've had? I mean, we've each only been to one, but I think it has some potential to be pretty special.
To me, what makes Celebration sort of work really powerfully is the prospect of the future. And so like last Celebration was the Rise of Skywalker trailer, which sent everybody buzzing. I know Kenobi being released during the Celebration timeline will of course send everybody buzzing, but I feel like if they're not willing to announce something big, which has been announced at every celebration previously, something big, like the movie that's coming at some point by somebody, or something like that. I don't know. I feel like the prospect of the future is what really drives celebration buzzing day to day. Yeah.
I would say that I agree with that. There's a certain newsiness to celebration as a convention specifically. And I think there's some of that, but there's also so much going on at this convention that I think that some of that like overarching buzziness may not be there aside from Kenobi. And maybe it doesn't need to be there aside from Kenobi, but the fact that like the Tales of the Jedi panel, which is a new animated shorts anthology series, is like a midday panel as opposed to a beginning of the day panel is interesting to me. Also, we don't have anything announced yet as of recording for Kenobi Thursday pre-screening hype show
or any sort of panel about Kenobi.
Yeah, other than the
like
Lucasfilm Studio Showcase, which we're assuming will have Kenobi at it, but we don't really know that for certain. So like there's like a big question mark that still lingers here, which like there are 3 stages, the 3 biggest stages, empty from like 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Something has to be happening there. You wouldn't just leave those empty where you could be putting things. So I have hope that they'll like announce something big, and I think that will get the buzz going in a big way, especially if it's sort of a surprise. But I would really appreciate the heads up. As somebody who likes to plan things, but
I'm trying to plan interviews and like meet and greets and like just hangouts with people. And like I've kept it blocked off in my calendar as well, just in case, because we're talking 3:30 to any time in the evening that there is something the other days around that time on the celebration stage, and all 3 big panel rooms are empty. So that does lean into something.
It's suspicious.
Look at us on the Star Wars conspiracy train again. Isn't it lovely?
Oh yeah. But see, like that's what Star Wars is all about. Just putting on your tinfoil hat and going, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't.
It's just the Kenobi meme of him looking at the star systems. He's like, there should be something there, but there isn't.
Exactly.
It's just us being Kenobi, right?
Reed Pop is Jocasta knew. If it's not on the schedule, it does not exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on, and we don't know about Light and Magic. I mean, we do have Bad Batch season 2. I mean, we've gotten 2 seasons of Mandalorian, a Book of Boba Fett, like Visions, all since we had our last celebration. So I think there's going to be a lot to be excited about. A new Lego Star Wars game that we've been talking about since the last celebration. I mean, we're finally getting everybody coming together around the High Republic, and like the last time, or the first time that was actually announced was the last celebration. Not even practically. They were still calling
it Project Luminous, and they couldn't even talk about it. And it was the most vague panel we can't talk about it, but it's going to be cool. Trust us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I could have not gone to this panel, guys.
But like now we're getting kind of everybody in person around that, which is exciting. Yeah. So like there's a lot that's happened here. And I think there's going to be something for every sort of fan here that they can kind of grab onto or in a buzzy way, or just be like, this is the one panel that I'm super excited about. And looking at this panel schedule, it is a real wealth of Sophie's choices throughout the entire weekend. So it's awesome. It's also incredibly difficult. And that's why we're here, just to help provide a little clarity. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're no experts, but we are people just like everybody else. So we can all commiserate together and try and figure it out.
You make a really great point about how much Star Wars we've gotten since last celebration. Like we've concluded the Skywalker saga 2 in there, and like so much has happened. And to Marie Claire's point, like about needing that sort of buzz for the convention, like this is the first Star Wars celebration in the age of Star Wars streaming, right? So I'm curious as to how they're going to position a lot of the television as sort of the big buzz of the celebration. Like before it was like, hey, we got Mando. And now it's like, hey, we've released 3 shows this year between Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, and Andor, and possibly again Mando in the fall, and also like Bad Batch somewhere in there, and maybe Tales of the Jedi, and maybe Vision season 2. Like there's a lot of Star Wars that could come out this year that we don't know about. So we're sort of entering this era, like to what Sarah says, there's something for everybody. And I think that is a benefit of streaming, is like, you know, let's say you wait 3 years for a film and it's not your thing. You're kind of like, great. I wasted all that time for nothing. Whereas now it's like, if you sort of have this like, you know, carte blanche platter of Star Wars, you can kind of choose and pick what's your fancy throughout the year. You kind of get a little bit of everything, and maybe you don't want this one thing for a couple weeks, but then you get the next thing the next couple of weeks after that, right? And I'll be curious to see like what they announce at the Lucasfilm Showcase, because that's going to be, to Marie Claire's point, where the kicker is. I do hope though there is a film announced. If it's Taika's, which seems to be the next one they're working on, according to the Vanity Fair article, that seems to be
the buzz,
the one that would be coming out possibly in the next 2 years. So
Bryce Dallas Howard's movie.
That would be a huge, that would actually be like a crazy announcement, I think. That maybe it's a long dark horse there. But I do think that they might keep the Mando Plus, like any of those interconnected type stories. So like Rangers of the Outer Rim, if that's still happening, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, like all of those shows to the Mando Plus panel, which is on Saturday. I think this will be primarily, I hope, new stuff that either we don't know about or we haven't really learned much about, like Acolyte concept art or something like that. Would be really cool to see in the Lucasfilm Showcase, in addition to any sort of new announcements. Because like that's, they like to make the news for the weekend. For sure. And putting that on a Thursday, which is usually not their big day for announcements. Usually it's Friday. It was weird to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But they like to make the news. So
should be interesting. That one. Okay, talking about panels to look out for, that's definitely one to keep on your radar, whether you get into that lottery or not, because I think that will be one where we get some curveballs thrown at us and some insider info that we just didn't know about before.
I just want the D23, or was it Comic-Con, like announcements spree that Marvel did. Like I want that, like where they bring people out on stage and they're like, and starring in Taika's movie will be X person. We'll be like, what? Like, I just want something that's like really gets your blood going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want some sequel trilogy stuff. That's all I want. It's all I want. A movie, a TV show. Give it to me, please.
Anything at all. Merch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
A whole TV series about Ben Solo going in between the world between worlds and just wandering aimlessly for 6 episodes. Be cool.
I would watch it.
I would watch it. Just call it Ghost Stories.
Would you watch Adam Driver read from a phone book? Yes.
Yeah.
So this would make money.
I would love him to like be walking down the world between worlds and like the portals open up and he sees a thing from Star Wars. He's like, oh, that's cool. You know, and just like gives like really short commentary to each moment. Oh, nice. The trench run. What? My dad told me about that.
This is the Lego Star Wars Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Christmas special again, or holiday special.
Sarah, you judge me, but you know you would watch that. You know you'd watch it.
But I'm judging your impression more than I'm judging the thought.
Okay. All right. I'm not Matthew Wood. I'm not Adam Driver. They can keep their Kylo Ren impressions. I got my own. So to each his own.
So we all went to 2019, and I kind of want to talk just like a little bit about our 2019 experience. I know that was a really hard transition. Just roll with me here. Don't worry about it.
I'm here.
But I kind of want to talk about 2019 and what sort of fears you had going into 2019 or expectations that you had, and ultimately some of the biggest lessons that you learned at the end of your 2019 convention experience that we can kind of impart to maybe listeners who are going for the first time or haven't been in many years? What's the vibe?
I had watched almost all the celebrations that had been available to be streamed since they had been streaming online, and it did not even prepare me for being at Celebration. It is so overwhelming with the loudspeakers playing Star Wars music constantly to people who are in these amazing and creative cosplays, like the Star Wars characters as Sailor Moon characters.
Right.
Like they just like cross amazing characters that you're like, I didn't even think that would be possible. Or just like hyper realistic, like 501st or Rebel Legion, like versions of characters. You're going to get stuff that like we haven't seen live action from like High Republic.
Holy heck.
This go around. And
Visions, Bad Batch,
like stuff that just doesn't exist real life, and cosplayers especially go out and make that happen. Like somebody, the one I remember the most was Kaz cosplayer who came over from Japan.
Yeah.
I got this great picture of him. He's so good. And then there was also a cosplayer of the singer from Solo. And her costume was just out of this world. And then just like, oh, hey, there's a BB-8 just like driving by, or, you know, or there's this just really cool thing happening. Like there was a rap like crew one time where they were all like dressed up as like rappers, but also like doing some sort of performance thing, and like they had like a Slave Leia, and like I'm like, this just showed up. Or you'll have like the Saber Guild like doing demonstrations like randomly in the middle of the hallway, and you're like, and this is happening to me right now.
or one of my personal favorites, the crew of people that every year, no matter what, comes dressed in Starfleet uniforms, and they're like, make Trek, not war. Or like, we can coexist. And like, and there are the funny things like that that are always really fun. Or like pink shorts boom guy, you know? The very, very niche things that you're like, okay, God bless you for thinking of that and bringing it here, because it's perfect. Like, or there was the one guy, you know, Seagulls Stop It Please.
Yeah.
There is a guy who cosplays as Luke Seagulls Stop It Please. It's very iconic. There are seagulls coming all off of him and like on sticks and things. And that was one of my favorites from 2019. So I think it's like a great thought. Like there's going to be cosplay that you can't even fathom. And then of course, like anybody dressed as Amidala, you just like your brain melts because you can't even physically imagine fabrics that beautiful.
Like there was like an island of Octo.
Yes.
Like somebody was dressed as the island of Octo, and I was like, what? Like you know, and I'm sure we're gonna get some Randy the interns in addition to Mike or Matt the Red Art Tech, like those sorts of things, as well as like Jeans Guy. I'm sure somebody's gonna dress as Jeans Guy with like a wall. Like that's the sort of thing, like those esoteric and like weird Star Wars things that happen, they end up coming out. There's like George Lucas cosplayers, and you're like, I appreciate this and I didn't know I needed this. So that just the vibes of Celebration are always immaculate.
Yes, I will
always
agree. I will agree and say that like there's a particular energy between like you and that cosplayer and everybody else who's really excited about that or anything else that's going around you. That's always really magical. And you're always looking and finding something new, or you're seeing the same person for the 20th time that weekend, which it will inevitably happen. They're like,
and you're like, do I know you? Oh no, I just have seen you 20 times.
Or you do know them and you're like, hey friend.
Hey.
But like, I think a cosplay note for people who are not in cosplay, who, you know, haven't gone to conventions before, always ask the cosplayer before you take a photograph with them or of them. That's just common courtesy. Cosplayers are people too, and sometimes they are running to the restroom or sitting and eating a snack or just aren't available for a photo for any reason. So,
and generally speaking, do not touch people without asking permission as well,
Absolutely.
even during a photo.
Yeah.
Like that's a really big thing. It's cosplay, not consent. And that's like a big convention thing that I just want to reiterate.
And also like the costumes can often be very, in addition to cosplay is not consent, but like costumes can be very expensive and fragile, and you never know, bumping them may break a piece of the costume. So don't do that either. Yeah, you don't want to have to deal with harming somebody else's costume or person, and that's no good for anybody. So
I will say for myself, Celebration Chicago was my first. And like my whole life, I feel like growing up, I didn't have a lot of people to talk to about Star Wars. And I started to dabble in Star Wars podcasts, and that's what kind of drove me to want to go to Celebration. And I feel like once I got there, I like grew so much in my comfortability as a fan. Like I didn't really feel like it was anything to be ashamed of anymore, or like embarrassed about, or like shy about. I could just like talk about Star Wars and not feel like there was any sort of judgment or whatever. And obviously I'm saying that as like a straight white dude. So it's, I'm a little privileged in that way too. So I recognize that. But at the same time, like it was really cool to go to Celebration and see like this whole world open up, and like all these fans like we're talking about with like such deep cuts of costumes that you're like, I never would have thought somebody knew about that little Easter egg or that little tiny detail, or like the Luke Seagulls guy. Like you just don't think about those things until you actually see them, like we're saying. And I think that was the wonderful thing about going to Celebration and being like, whoa, oh my God, wow. And like pointing at all the things that are happening around you. So to that point, it will be very overwhelming. You're going to see a lot the whole weekend. And like my best piece of advice is like, plan a little bit, like kind of know what you want to do while you're there and kind of what your approach is. Like if you're a big panels person and you want to do a bunch of panels, like that's okay. If you just want to spend the whole weekend not going to any panels and you just want to walk around the show floor and meet and talk to people and like hang out at the Star Wars show stage, that is totally a cool way to spend your whole weekend as well. Like there is no right or wrong way to do Celebration. And I think you will kind of learn each and every celebration that you go to. Like we're going to learn a lot, I'm sure, the second celebration, like what not to do and
Absolutely.
what to do. And I know at Celebration Chicago, I think I didn't spend enough time on the show floor. So that's something I want to do this time. And that's the cool part about it. So just kind of go into the weekend knowing there is not a right way of doing it. You will figure it out. And the next time you go, it might be a little different. And that's totally okay too. But feel free to go with the flow as well. Like things happen and you just got to adjust, and you'll have a good time no matter what.
Yeah, I think that something that is worth internalizing is like, it doesn't matter whether you're going alone or with friends. You're going to come across people, you're going to meet people, situations are going to change. Somebody's going to decide you're going to decide you don't want to go to that panel, and then you're going to join off with a group that doesn't want to go into that panel. So like the situations are constantly shifting, and that's a fun and good thing and not necessarily a bad thing. And I agree with Brad, like know what your approach is. If you're somebody who's like, I'm here for the exclusives, I'm here for the shopping, okay, make sure to line up early so you can be on the show floor at 10 a.m., make sure that your lightning lane, you're ready to go for the Celebration store, other exclusives. If your approach is like, I don't care about spending money, I'm just here for the people, I'm here for the panels, like that necessitates a totally different day, or your weekend. My best piece of advice as somebody who went in 2019 when they were a broke college student, many of us have been there. Be kind to your wallet, just broadly, and also know that like it's going to be okay generally, like if you don't get the thing, because there's going to be something else. And I know like everybody has that one thing that they deeply regret not getting, and it happens to all of us, but don't go over your reasonable budget, because like ultimately there is more to life than Star Wars. And you want to be able to make rent and put food on your table, and those things are important too. So like, I know spending is a big part of this particular convention, but also you don't have to join that if you do not want to, or if you cannot.
Now you're really calling me out about me wanting to spend $450 on a statue of Max Rebo's ass crack.
I am calling you out about that, but also like I was a broke college student in 2019 and I could not buy a lot. And so I didn't. And ultimately I had to be okay with that because I knew that's what I could do. And that it was just a blessing to be there in the first place. And it was, and it's okay. And like, there's one thing I regret not getting. And that is the Gorg plushie. But that's okay. Like, you know, I will come across a Gorg plushie one day and I will give it a big hug and be good. You know, like it's
a hand puppet.
Is it really? Oh my gosh. I think even better.
I have it like right behind me, actually, if you want me to show you.
Amazing.
I agree with all of that. I do think that like you will get given a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That's also something like a lot of people create their own creations to give them away or to trade them for other people's creations. There's tons of buttons and pins and cool things. People come up with the most inventive pin concepts. Like one of my favorites from last celebration was Disney Prince for Ben Solo.
Yep.
And it's like the Disney writing, like Disney Prince, and it had Ben Solo on it. And I treasure that pin. You'll also just like run into people who are like, I want to give you this thing. And you're like, cool. So there are things that you can get that like will be given to you just because Star Wars fans want to share the Star Wars joy.
Mm-hmm.
I do recommend like maybe finding one small thing, whether you can afford it or it's like just the one thing you're planning on buying, just because it is nice to have one thing to like, even if it's like, oh, I bought this pair of socks. Well, then you can wear those socks and like enjoy them. And like, you know, but again, don't go over your budget. Like Sarah said, it's really, really important because what I took home from last celebration was the time with people, the conversations, going for Korean food one night, which is like nothing related to Star Wars, but like all of these cool people were like, let's go for Korean. I'll be like, yeah, let's go for Korean. It'll be like Brad saying, let's go to Denny's. And we'll be like, yeah, let's go to Denny's. And like, we'll remember. Yeah, like we'll remember the Denny's hangout and we may not remember like that thing we could have bought.
Yeah.
There is a lot of pressure to buy at Celebration. And, you know, that works for some people and it doesn't work for others. So really, really important to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Celebration's pricey. That is for sure. And I think you make a great point. Like, don't feel that pressure to spend. Although try to maybe find, like you said, that one thing. I think that's a good point. To even if I personally think like the pins are great. Like if you're in the Celebration store and you can find maybe that like one pin at the cashier line that like really speaks to you, especially like all the different character pins that usually have like mystery packs and you can like open it up and see who you get. Like those are always really fun to see, like, you know, what character am I going to get? Pins are always a great option. So make sure you have a good lanyard too that can collect a lot of those pins. Cause for me, I bought like a lot of shirts at Celebration Chicago, not like a lot of like really big expensive items, but my memento is my lanyard with all of the pins that I collected from the weekend. And like, that was a lot of just like handouts and things that I kind of found along the way. And like I cherish it now, you know, it's sort of, and it was like not that expensive.
Yeah. If I can talk about swag for just a hot second.
Oh yeah.
There is a lot of moving items happening on the Celebration show floor and around the convention. And you do not have to bring something to trade or to give an exchange. Again, as Marie Claire said, like people will just run up to you and give you things, or you'll be in a conversation with somebody and they'll be like, oh, I have a button. Would you like it? Say yes, unless you really hate the design, because it's fun to have a memento of that interaction. I will say there are people there who have created patches and challenge coins and other items specifically to trade with other people who have those items. So know that somebody may say no if you ask for their item, but that will broadly not happen because I would say more people than not are just handing things out. Again, you do not need to come with anything and don't feel bad if you do not come with anything. We're kind of at a point where there's not really a turnaround time to make it happen this year. But if you get something really great this year, you can always be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I want to do in years future. So like in 2019, I did a Rose Tico Defense Squad because I was just like, got to go to bat for my girl Rose Tico. And I'm doing a follow-up this year. It's kind of the same idea, same thing. But just freebies, I'm hoping to give them out to cosplayers as well as other fans. So all you have to do is be a fan of the thing to get the thing, So yeah, that's what makes it fun. And make sure that in your suitcase, you're packing with a little bit of extra room, knowing that you're going to get a bunch of these ultimately. So just be aware, do not pack to the brim, because you will buy something that you will need to put back in your suitcase. And if you don't have room to do it, you'll have to ship it, and shipping is expensive. So if you can avoid that, avoid it.
Absolutely.
I would say one other piece of advice too. We're talking a lot about how many people you're going to run into, whether they're giving out free swag or whether you're waiting in line. And this is something I challenged myself in Chicago. It may not work for everybody. Force yourself to talk to people. And I think like if I didn't force myself to talk to Sarah, like we wouldn't be here today. Right. And so you just never know.
You forced yourself to talk to me? Because I feel like we were like, do I know you? Not. Should we say something to each other? I don't know.
Well, we've gone over that story 100 times, but it's one of those things where it's like, try to go out of your comfort zone a little bit, like push yourself a little bit, challenge yourself. Like there were so many situations where like, I waited in the Star Wars Celebration store line for 8 hours on like the Wednesday preview day, but it was fun because like the whole like couple people around me, like we chatted for like 8 hours. Like it was fun. Like we were there chatting the whole time about Star Wars. A couple people ended up friending each other on Facebook. It was really cool. And there was another panel that I was waiting for where I was talking to a guy, and we ended up going to a couple panels together throughout the weekend. And he just actually added me on Twitter the other day and was like, "Oh my God, we were in the queue together and now you have a podcast and you're on the podcast stage. That's so cool. Good luck." And I'm like, I haven't talked to that person in like years. And so it's just cool, like the connections that you form at Celebration. So like if you're waiting in line, take advantage of that silence, maybe, unless the person doesn't want to clearly be bothered. But like maybe say hi to the person and be like, "Long wait, huh?" Like just do the awkward small talk and like ask them what their favorite Star Wars is. Like, do you like The Last Jedi? Do you like Resistance? Do you read The High Republic? So that's my big piece of advice, my biggest, because you will meet a friend at Celebration if you kind of approach it that way. And you don't have to approach it that way, but it's definitely a worthwhile approach, in my opinion.
You will also come across Star Wars people randomly.
Yeah.
Like that's the weird thing. I met Matt Martin. I met Leland Chi. I met David W. Collins. I met Claudia Gray. She was having lunch. I came up and I said, "You're amazing." And my podcast is called What the Force. And, you've been on my podcast. She had been on my podcast before that point, but this is me. And she's like, "Oh my God." And we literally sat down for half an hour to talk about the Force. And I mean, I'm not saying all interactions are going to be like that, but for the most part, people really genuinely do like to hear that you love their work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is nice too. I saw Dave Filoni passing in a hallway surrounded by guards because it was like one of the busy hallways between panels that people were trying to make it to. You're just going to run into people and you're going to be like, "That's that person. Oh my God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my favorite thing is you'll realize how tall or short some of the people that or Lucasfilm people are. Like I recall standing at the Star Wars show live stage, and I was like, I think that's Matt Martin. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to bother him, but I'm pretty sure it's Matt Martin.
He is a tiny human.
He's like 5'2", and you're just like,
yeah,
he's wearing a backpack. I think that's Matt Martin.
I had that experience. I met him waiting in line at in Times Square at New York Comic Con for the Disney store release of the Tross merchandise. Isn't it interesting? He's a great guy.
He is a lovely human.
He's so nice.
I think my other kind of piece of advice, this all kind of runs together here, but is be really nice to everybody, but especially the people who are exhibitors and who are running the booths. I have done that, and it is exhausting. It is really, really fun. At least I find it to be really fun, but it also can just be a really, really long day, especially as we get later in the convention, days 3 and 4. you take into account that also all of these exhibitors have come 1 or 2 days ahead of time to set up their entire booth. And then at the day after or right after the convention ends, they are also going to be tearing the whole booth down. So recognize that they're working and doing a job. And if a line has to be cut off at a certain point, don't be a jerk to that person. And also just be extra nice to people, because it's been 3 years since the last one. And we're all kind of getting back into the swing of things. I've done a couple of conventions as an exhibitor since COVID has begun, but it's a bit of a different process when everybody's in a mask and when you're trying to social distance even a little bit. So yeah, be kind to the people you meet on the floor and exhibitors, because they cannot necessarily control the amount of stock that they have. They are just there to sell it most of the time. So yeah.
Yeah. And, kindness is just the small thing that we can learn from, Star Wars. Having compassion for those who are just there to be there.
Yeah.
It's their job, right? And yeah.
Also, don't be afraid to have conversations with those people either. I, as an exhibitor, love it when people share their fandom with me and tell me why they, I'm a bookseller, so why they love the book that they're getting or what they're most excited about. Don't be afraid to talk to those people if they have a moment to talk, because they probably would like an interaction that's more than just your total is $200. So, if time allows for that, they're all people too. So, and many of them are big fans as well. So, not every single person who is going to be there is going to be a super, knowledgeable or big fan, but many will be. And they're just hey, I'm here to work it instead of be a fan here, but I would be a fan here if I wasn't working it, sort of a vibe. So, that's a part of it too.
I think it's just really, most people will be kind. And if you find somebody who's just not being kind, just avoid them. That was rare for me, but occasionally you do get people who are a little cranky and tired.
Yeah, and which is understandable, again, because we are doing 4 long days, not including any, Disney or other action-packed vacation days on either side of the convention. So, just give people grace and, also give people space if they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about advice for Celebration. I think we should talk a little bit about what to bring and things to keep in mind. This episode's coming out on Saturday before Celebration, so hopefully some of you listening haven't already left yet, and maybe you're yes, I need to get that thing in my bag.
Yeah, last minute packing here.
Yeah. I'm still packing. I'll be packing until Sunday night probably, and I'll get 2 hours of sleep. It'll be great.
I believe that, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's a time. But hey, let's talk about the essentials. A couple of them right off the top. Bring good walking shoes. You are going to be standing a lot. You're going to be walking a lot. If you have your Fitbit on, you're getting 30 to 40,000 steps all week. You're doing it. You're going hard.
Minimum for me was 25 one slow day.
Yeah.
I recommend 2 pairs at least, because you can switch them each day. 3 if you can fit them, just because you're going to get blisters from one of your pairs of shoes, and you're I can't afford to have that blister be there again, and it rests your feet weirdly. It's rules for Disneyland too, right?
Yeah. And to that point, be kind to yourself all weekend. Know your limits.
Yeah.
It is okay if you need to take a break, or if you need to sit down, or maybe you just can't make it to that panel because you do not want to push yourself physically to get there, or it's an exhausting weekend, right? So just be kind to yourself. Bring a water bottle, bring Advil, because you're going to get headaches. We're all going to get them. Bring Band-Aids for those blisters, just the small things, have a backpack where you can put a lot of those things into. And so you're not having to run back and forth between your hotel all weekend and get those supplies. And also have snacks in your bag too, because you have to eat. And a lot of the convention food is very overpriced. So if you just come prepared with those snacks in your bag, you'll be golden, and you can just take a break and eat.
Some of the key panels are over top of lunch.
Yes.
So it's the first panels of the day. Sometimes are starting at 11 and then go to 12:30, and then there's something that you want to go and head up immediately after. It's sometimes hard to fit in a solid meal. So have a really good breakfast in the morning, plan on like something good at night, and then just like kind of eat like snacking throughout the day if you can.
My kind of trick as an exhibitor has been to make sure that I eat a lunch. I think that's really key in order to just having the stamina. But
even if it's not at time.
Yeah, even if it's not at lunchtime. Like one day it was at 4:00, but it was food. And the thing for me is I just brought ham and bologna sandwiches. I know, very, very glamorous, not peanut butter and jelly. I don't like peanut butter and jelly. All the listeners now know this. Sorry, guys. But like, I just brought an easy sandwich that I could throw in my bag. And I made sure to eat it every day. Because I know that in 2019, I went until 6:00 without eating anything one day. And then I realized, oh crap, I have put nothing in my body. And that was a problem because I was exhausted and I was fatiguing quite quickly. And you don't want to find yourself in that situation and having to scramble because either food is closed or, there's nothing in your immediate vicinity. So having either a sandwich or snacks or a protein bar, something that can just pump you up and be a quick thing that you can eat while you're on the move anywhere sort of in the convention center where you can find a place to sit or stand and whatever works for you. But like, yeah, just having that on your person as opposed to like having or going to food trucks or having to get overpriced, really crappy convention food can be helpful as well. And if you bring a sandwich, you can save yourself a couple of bucks. Because convention food can get really expensive, as with food truck food. So even if you want to splurge on one of those things one day, having a meal in your bag will save you $8. That you can spend on then merch.
Exactly.
So those were a couple of essentials. I don't know if you guys have other ones that we might have listed and hadn't gotten to, or ones that you brought to Celebration before that you thought were extremely valuable for people to bring.
I have a couple. You can order them off Amazon, but they're locking pinbacks because
yes,
the ones that you get with any of the official pins or even the ones at Disney are these plastic ones that your pin will literally just slide off as soon as you have any sort of like, I don't know, weight applied to it, I guess, or if it gets caught on your clothes or whatever, you'll lose your pin that you just spent like your good hard-earned money that you brought a sandwich to buy.
Yeah.
So the locking pin backs, you can get them. I think they're like $5 to get like a bag of 50 of them. It's really awesome. And then they will stay.
Yeah.
Because they lock in place. And then baggies, like just baggies for things, because I find like sometimes you'll be given something and it's like, oh, a bunch of pins and maybe you've run out of space on your lanyard or whatever. And you just want to make sure to keep them kind of all together. Having a couple of Ziploc bags in your bag, as well as your luggage is really, really important as well.
Yes. I would also say something important to think about is if you want to do things after the convention and don't want to hop right in your pajamas, consider bringing an extra change of clothes for your day, something that you can throw in your bag because it's also going to be warm. But you know, when you like go to work, you come back from work and you're in your work clothes and you're like, I feel like it's been a long day and I'm a little sweaty in my work clothes. And then you put on some lounging clothes and you're like, oh my God, I feel like a new person. Same applies to Celebration. If you are going to get done with the convention at 7:00, but you're also going to go to a meetup or something, dinner even after the convention, consider just like bringing a new t-shirt. You'll feel fresher. You'll feel better. And especially since it's going to be warm and you might get a little sweaty. For me, that's really important. And also you can like bring another pair of shoes, even if it's a less sturdy pair of shoes for evenings out too. If it's a sandal or a flip flop, as opposed to your, big walking shoes that you can then give your feet and the shoe a rest before you pick it up the next morning. Yeah.
take a quick rinse when you get back to your hotel. Get that layer of
shower
celebration off you before
Showering
your
in
night
general.
out. You know, like
Yeah.
get that con crud off of you, because con crud's real. Like you could possibly get sick from going to these sorts of conventions, and like obviously now with COVID, that's like an extra concern to have. But like, take your like cleanliness very seriously at the convention. Like, bring an extra stick of deodorant with you in your backpack when you're walking around. Like, you just never know what could happen. Bring hand sanitizer. I live and die by those little like clip hand sanitizers that like stick kind of rope right in your bag, and you can just like kind of reach behind you and squeeze a little hand sanitizer and you're good. Like, be prepared with all that stuff, because you want to feel clean throughout the whole week, or else you're just gonna like hate your life, especially when it's really hot out.
Bring extra masks for yourself, because you could like ruin one or drop one on the ground, and you don't want to be putting that back on your face. You know, I probably disposable ones, although like cloth ones are accepted, I think, as well. But it helps if you're like, oh, that one's gross. Blah, throw it out and get a new one on your face.
For sure.
And then this is a little known fact. I didn't know it before I came to Celebration, but any of the big panels that feature official Lucasfilm properties, so Bad Batch Season 2 or Mandalorian or the Showcase, will give you a poster after every single one of them. That is like a big thing. So having even like a cheap dollar store poster tube in your bag, you don't have to have one of the fancy ones that you carry around with you unless you're kind of buying art and you want to keep it safe for the day, but just something to be able to roll it up and take it home with you so it stays intact before it gets home.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Unless you're somebody who's like, I'm just going to pass my poster off to somebody, you don't want it, you know?
Yeah.
Make sure you have something. I don't know if I have a poster tube, but like I've got a friend, Brad, who's willing to let me share. But like, I'm thinking about bringing a mailer, just like a stiff mailer that I got sent a poster to in to put on, that I know fits in my bag, my suitcase rather, that I could put that lays flat. I don't know if any of that made sense, but but
that's actually what I've done for I did that for New York Comic Con. I had like those clear plastic ones. Because sometimes when you go get a print, there's like usually they'll probably have one in like the Celebration Art Show. There's like a booth where you can buy like clear plastic, like those, like you said, like they're flat, files. They're plastic, they're see-through, and you can slide a print right in them. Sometimes when you get a print, they'll give you like a large bag to put the print in. And then so you put the print inside the flat plastic, and then you put the plastic inside the bag. And then the bag has handles, and then you're golden. And you can stuff all sorts of like small posters in there. You can even stuff like small postcards that you get throughout the convention, like anything you can just throw right in there. That's how I've
and it'll keep
done
flat.
conventions.
I like that better than rolling the tubes, because it did take a while for my like posters that I gotten from the panels to unroll. I have the OPEC one from the Resistance panel, which I love still to this day. So
I bought that off eBay.
That's my biggest Star Wars regret, was not going to that panel in 2019.
Whoa, big regret
not going to the Resistance panel. Not even a real Resistance fan is really really what's happening here. But I mean, with panels, and I'm going to kind of go back to like a piece of advice here, but like with panels, for me specifically, I prefer the newsier, buzzier panels as opposed to just like a fan panel that's going through something that I already know about. And that's not a dig to fan panels, because I have nothing but respect for like anybody who's like putting a PowerPoint together, who's putting an idea together. I mean, like, I'm saying this as somebody who's going to be on the podcast stage, like, so we're going to be doing that anyway. But those are fun too, because it's somebody that you either know of or listen to, which that's a different vibe. But for me, one of my bigger regrets from 2019 was that I went to a fan panel that I didn't end up getting a lot out of, and I missed the Resistance panel, which I regret to this day, because it seems like it was really, really a ton of fun, and also that poster slaps. So.
It was wild. I went to it. It was wild.
It was the first thing I watched when I got home from my flight, and I was like, damn, I really screwed up.
They showed us the 2 episodes that were out for like a couple of months, and that
Yeah.
was wild.
Yeah, it didn't premiere until October. So you're talking April to October. It's a long time.
Yeah.
6 months.
So you kind of just like know what you're going for. And I think for me, like after that, it really solidified that like, oh, I really enjoy the newsy sort of panels and would like to be in those rooms if I can be, if I don't have anything that overlaps with that. So, if you're like, no, the fan panels are where it's at. I really just kind of want to recap these sorts of ideas or explore this new idea with somebody who's a fan expert, then like, go for it, because they like fans are experts and they have lots of incredible things to say. Like we all have lots of incredible things to say, and fan panels can be really, really cool as well. I did go to a couple that were awesome in 2019. So it's like really kind of putting together the best mix for you, which can sometimes be difficult, but
I do think it's important to like explain the differences between the rooms. So like the celebration stage is the big stage.
It's an arena.
It's an arena, right? So there's going to be floor seating. There's going to be like wall-to-wall stadium seating.
Yeah.
It's huge. And when they have that, plus the Galaxy stage, which is the next biggest stage, which is a huge convention floor room filled with chairs, and it's huge. Like
thousands of people.
Huge. Thousands of people in the Galaxy stage. And then the Twin Suns is, I would say, maybe half that size.
Yeah, but it's still like the other quote unquote like official, like Lucasfilm is putting programming up there stage.
They typically do like publishing panels in the Twin Suns. They'll do something like like meeting with C-3PO in the Galaxy stage. And then they'll do like the official like Mando Plus or Star Wars Showcase in all 3. Like it just is sort of like that. And I think that just knowing how big these stages are, and that if you want to get a good seat for some of them, like depends on like if you're doing a lightning lane, you have to kind of get there early if you're not to line up to get a good seat, because they start to like let people in and start to fill them up, and it's a lot of waiting in line no matter what. And I think people kind of forget that it's
I mean, this is a convention that has tens of thousands of people at it, and all 3 of those major stages that you mentioned typically have additional queues that are dedicated to those stages. So for first timers, like don't expect to get there at if 3:20, if the panel starts at 3:30 and like be able to get a seat. Like make sure you're booking time to get in line or see what the line looks like, to see, if you should get in line right now or you can wait a little bit, because occasionally those stages do fill up and you're kind of out of luck at that point because they're not going to let you stand around the walls. So I would just be aware of that and how many like things you're booking for yourself in your day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that's the one thing that I caught on to right away. And so like I made the 1 to 2 things I wanted to make sure to do a priority. And even like the podcast stage will fill up, the university and fan panel stages will fill up, and they just won't let you in like once the thing starts, right? Like or if it's full, they cut off the line. And so you will be queuing for like everything. And that's like a weird thing that people are like, oh, I'm going to this thing. No. There's like a line for everything that you do. That and sometimes like the Lucasfilm Studio showcase, which is going to be the equivalent of the episode 9 that we went to, right? That one, there'll be a long lineup that first day. So if you can get your vaccination wristband and your badge early, that's really important.
And they are doing those on Wednesday too.
And
vaccination
Tuesday.
and Tuesday.
They open that on Tuesday?
Yeah, if you go to StarWarsCelebration.com, it's like a banner kind of in the middle of the page there.
Wow.
So they have
they updated that because it was only supposed to be Wednesday.
Yeah, there are a couple hours now on Tuesday.
So if you're going to be there early and you can get that on Wednesday, do it, because it gives you a little more time to sleep and have that hearty breakfast on Thursday and kind of just go right to the convention center, and hopefully it all goes pretty smooth. For the most part.
They, I will say ReadPop has done a handful of conventions between, conventions starting back up and now. And at least for me, it went really smoothly at both the Star Trek convention and C2E2.
Yeah. New York Comic Con was a breeze too, because they also run that. So,
they did add it. Wow, that's great.
So
that's great.
Tuesday noon to 5, Wednesday 2 to 8, and then I would imagine all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's as early as 6 a.m.
Yes.
So yeah.
Whatever you can make work for you, the earlier the better. We'd all recommend that.
Yeah, there are a lot of panels to choose from, but I will echo Marie Claire's point. Like, and Sarah and I did this because we had a whole list of things that we wanted to go see, and then we've gone back through our panel wish list like several times, and every time multiple hour Zoom calls. Yeah. And like, I think ultimately we've kind of landed at a place where we're like, okay, like worst case scenario, we only make it to one panel each day. Which one are we choosing? And so having that expectation is not setting yourself up for disappointment, because the last thing you want to do is be so set on something happening that when it doesn't, it kind of ruins your mood and like ruins the vibe of the day. And then you're kind of stuck on that. What's the next best thing I could do? You know, whether that is just hanging out on the show floor and exploring a little bit more. Oh, I missed that panel. Well, I'm going to go over to a fun booth and see what they're all about, right? So just have a backup plan and don't be disappointed if things don't always go according to plan, because it won't.
Yeah. My other piece of advice, other than like looking through the panel list quite in a detailed manner, just so you have a full knowledge of what you're getting yourself into, or what options you have, is also to study the map and just have a general idea of where the one thing you want to buy is located at, where all the stages are generally located at, where autographs and photographs are, and just how to navigate yourself around, because that's half the battle. I find, at a big convention, in a big convention center, especially if you haven't been to it before. Like, I haven't been to Anaheim Convention Center, so it's going to be a new locale for me. So, I've already been like, Anaheim Convention Center floor plans, just to have a better idea of the the spaces I'm going to be in. And then once the map drops, you can bet that I will spend an hour looking up every room size, and also like where the stairs are and where elevators are, and how much time it would theoretically take for me to get to point A to point B. And so if you have a map question, you can probably ask me during the weekend, because I'm one of those people that will spend way too much time on it. But it like helps me to be able to get around in an easier manner. So instead of it taking 10 minutes to figure out that we need to go right and then up the stairs and then make a left to get to the panel room, I kind of know what direction I'm headed in, which can cut down on that time, which then you get into the panel line faster, and then you're in the room. So it all counts, all of the research and time that you spend beforehand.
Keep your friends in text messages or a group chat, being like, hey, just got out of this panel. What's everybody up to?
Yeah.
And have a meeting spot.
Have a meeting spot that like doesn't crowd with people between panels, because there's going to be like choke points.
Oh, for real. Yeah.
There was choke points in Chicago, but I don't know Anaheim. But I'm sure there will be panel choke points, like, oh no, the one panel just left out. Also, any of the big panels will be shown on the Star Wars Celebration floor show.
The first panels of the day.
The first panels of the day. And then they'll have these like really cool after interviews that you have to watch on YouTube after if you're not there.
I did not know about that. I did not. I was like, wait, Kelly Marie Tran was on the stage and I freaking missed it after the Tross panel. Are you kidding me? That's actually one of my biggest regrets from Celebration, is not watching Andy and Anthony, who are going to be back with like Hector Navarro and I'm blanking on who else is going to be there.
Christian Baver is also going to be doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge lineup of people on that stage. Like, again, like if you spent your whole weekend just at that stage,
you'd have a good time.
Fun.
Yeah. I didn't get into the Tross panel. I watched the Rise of Skywalker trailer from the Star Wars show stage, and I'm sure everybody has seen the video of like that whole crowd at the Star Wars show stage and how crazy it was. Like, it was honestly, it might have even been better than like being in the Celebration stage room. Like, it was that intense and insane and fun. people were screaming. You couldn't hear anything. It was thunderous applause. Like it was so good.
It's like a rock concert sometimes, a little bit.
Yeah.
Fan stuff that happens. There's going to be meetups of people who are all dressed the same, like the High Republic costuming stuff. There's going to be a costume meetup. I think they said
Friday 3 o'clock. Friday 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Friday 3 o'clock is going to be the High Republic one, but there's also going to be the running of the hoods at some point. It is hilarious to watch.
It's very iconic.
It's very iconic. And it's just such like you find yourself a good place to watch it and you're like, yeah, oh my God, it's happening. Sometimes it happens when you're already in a panel and sometimes it doesn't and you get to catch it. But I'm looking forward to actually watching it this year.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can do to stay up to date on all of those things, there is like a major Star Wars Celebration Anaheim Facebook page. It's got like 33,000 people in it. You'll know it's the biggest one. But like they're the admins of that group do a lot of compiling, a lot of like the after events and also photo meetups and some of those events that are happening throughout the day. So just being like aware of those things if you're like really set on catching a particular cosplay meetup so you can take a photo, or if you're just interested in joining in on that because you have that costume, then like follow those groups because they're the ones that are going to have all of that information in a more organized fashion. And that's been really helpful to me to kind of figure out who's doing what and where. As I had just like exposed myself as somebody who like really goes in on the map and needs to know. I'm one of those people that's like, give me as much information as you possibly can, which is why it's personally killing me to not know what's happening between 4 and 7 on Thursday.
There should be something
there. Should be something there.
There's like a selfish part of me that hopes nothing happens. So I have like just a couple of hours to actually like explore everything with no worries about panels, you know? But at the same time, not having to watch Kenobi from like 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. is going to be really nice.
Yeah,
and then have Celebration the next day and then Star Wars night the next night.
Don't talk to me. Don't even look at me.
Oh, man.
It's going to be rough.
It's going to be rough on Saturday morning. I'm going to be pumped full of caffeine.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It'll be good.
So,
do you want to talk about lightning lanes just before we kind of move on from like panels and stuff and like how those work? Because I think that was the most confusing part for me.
Yeah,
I never even used those last time. I didn't even know. You
might be the one that has the information, Marie Claire. So,
can I explain them?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So it's kind of like Disneyland, right? Once per day. So right in the morning, they open them all up. And you can basically click to your heart's content to try to get one thing that you really, really want. So this is the panels for Twin Sun stage, the Celebration stage, and the Galaxy stage, plus the Celebration store. Really, really important. And they will open them all up inside of your Star Wars Celebration app. You can download the app, keep it open. And it's 9 a.m. They load them and you have to like click like a mad person, be ready. And you try to get what you can get. And if you want to get into, say, the publishing panel without having to wait in line for 2 hours to get into the publishing panel, you can use the lightning lane. And then you're like, I can be there up to a half an hour beforehand and I'll get in first. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially for some of the panels like the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. Like, I really want to be there. That's really important to me. I really want to do it. And maybe it's like right next to another thing that I really want to attend. You know, you can still make it potentially if that's the thing that you've prioritized for the day. So that is beyond the virtual panel sign up. One of the other things that's really important about the virtual panel sign up is that there's still technically a way to get in. If you didn't get a virtual panel, you can go wait in line, and they let in some people, or they open up those seats for the lightning light speed lanes early morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Lightspeed lane, like Brad and I are struggle busing right now over the fact that we want to do so many things on Thursday. And I think the lightning lane is going to be really key in helping us make sure that we're able to do those things. So if you are like us and you really have a lot of things you want to do or would like to try to do, knocking one of those things out as like a guaranteed thing as opposed to a whole host of maybes can be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of one of those things you can use it for, the celebration store, again, we've kind of briefly talked about it, but be prepared for that. The waits for that can be very long. If the lightning lane is down, prepare yourself for a very long wait. That's why I waited 8 hours at Celebration Chicago, because it was down. The times when it wasn't down, I got in very quickly. So, think about that. A lot of the hot ticket items might go right on Thursday and Friday. They might be out of them completely. If you're not really concerned about getting like the most coveted thing and you just kind of want to go in there and see what it's all about, like going on Sunday is perfectly fine. Just expect that, some things might be sold out that you might have wanted and you might feel kind of bad. So if you're able to check it out early in the weekend, do that. I don't know. We're trying to figure out when to do that too, because it's like, oh, we want to use our lightning lane for all these other things, but we want to go to the store. And they just announced the nice High Republic book set for a lot of money, and I want it so bad. It's just, and there's only 1,000 of them. If I don't get them, I'll be so sad. It's my deep regret.
That will be a different thing. That will be a different location and a different thing. Like probably the Delray booth.
It's in the store. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think they don't want people rushing the booth this year. Is I think the move.
Fair.
Which they're working hard over there. We want them to be safe and socially distant,
And also like running to the booth was a very like able-bodied person thing to do.
Yeah.
And if we can make it slightly more equitable, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah. The virtual panel draw is like a very equitable thing that they've implemented instead of making it
overnight.
So you have to stay up overnight to see the first panel of the day. I'm really happy to see that has continued on.
Mm-hmm.
My celebration store experience was I just kind of want to check it out and pick up a few stuffies and a few t-shirts, and nothing that I was looking for in particular was sold out, but I'm sure like the Dex's Diner sign and those High Republic books will, right? Like, so if those are your priorities, make time for those priorities. I guess that's just the general lesson. Make time for your priorities.
Keep your eyes peeled in that store too. I saw Aaron Kellyman in there and I was like, that's not Aaron Kellyman. And then like, as soon as I got out of the store, Celebration posted a photo of Aaron Kellyman in the Celebration store. And I was like,
you're like behind
I was like, God damn it.
You're like behind her in the picture and you're like, oh my God.
I was like, I recognize that hair. It has to be Aaron Kellyman. So you never know who you might run into in the Celebration store. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I will also say the same thing kind of goes for photographs and autographs when it comes to like waiting in line for those or having those as part of your day. Things happen in those things where they are not on time and they have a snag, for whatever reason. Talent is late, or the person that's in front of the person that you're going to get a photograph with, like the talent that's in front of the person that you want to take a picture with, runs over their time. So now it's pushed back. Be willing to be flexible. If you have a photo or an autograph ticket, it sucks. It's a difficult system sometimes, especially with a convention as large as this. However, patience is key. And, like typically the talent is really committed to like making sure they're able to get through all their photos and autographs. So like it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're given a time for photographs.
Yeah.
But for autographs, I don't have a time.
I don't have a time either. So
Oh, are you going for Kelly Marie Tran too?
Oh yeah.
Me too. I'm gonna get my Where's Rose signed. So
I'm gonna have her sign the
photo. If you're around, maybe we'll go together. All right. Because that would be fun to hang out with you and like be in line with Sarah.
Yeah, I'm also really excited to just like hang out with all the Rose Tico fans in line. It's one of those things I'm really like silly excited about. I'm like, it's gonna be just like a whole host of Rose Tico fans in line together. These are just the good
all of us.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I'm getting signed. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, but like have those things in mind at the very least, and also just be willing to be flexible about the times. So make sure you don't have something that's like super, super important to you planned, or like be willing to give that up if things run over. I know like already the Kelly Marie Tran photograph times switched to be an hour earlier, which has now put it in front of the same thing that I really wanted to go to for Sunday. So I'm just having to deal with that emotion now, and it's going to be okay. Like everything's going to turn out just fine, but know that that does happen. And that's another reason to bring snacks in case things do not go as planned in that regard.
Yeah. And I will say too, like, don't book too many photo ops and autographs. Like I waited in line for 5.5 hours to get his autograph by Hayden Christensen at New York Comic Con. And that was after waiting 2 hours the night before and realizing the mistake I had made. And I went to the official Pix people and I said, can I please change my time to tomorrow? They were very kind about it. Because he had slots for tomorrow, they moved my ticket for me. So like, if you get into that situation, like talk to the people at the booth and see if you can do something. They're generally pretty easygoing, but it's also going to be very chaotic. So also be kind to them, but expect really long waits the more popular the person is. I know Ewan is doing photos and autographs, which are both sold out. And I would imagine those autographs are going to take a very long time. On the same time, if you know you're getting an autograph with Ewan McGregor, don't talk his ear off for 15 minutes because you got a whole host of people behind you. I was not able to talk at all to Hayden or get any sort of personalization because of how long it was taking. So just kind of keep that in mind, in terms of respecting the people waiting behind you and giving them the extra minute maybe versus you getting the extra 10. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of like autograph etiquette.
I've never gotten an autograph. What is the etiquette?
Either.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like, it depends on the person. It's like if they're like, I know some people, our friends over at Lipstick and Lightsabers, they got an autograph from Susie McGrath and there wasn't a line for her. So they got to chat with her for like 15 minutes. And like, that was their experience. For somebody like Kelly Marie Tran, I'm assuming she might have a decent line on Sunday. So might be one of those things where you can talk to her for a couple minutes and then, get out of Dodge. But I don't think autographs have to be as transactional as the photos. The photos are very quick. It's in and out, snap your photo, next person. Autographs, you can chat for like a little tiny bit, but you kind of have to make it a little quick. Somewhat.
I will also say it really does depend on the person. Like, I don't think that anybody's going to get to talk to Ewan just because of the sheer number of autographs he has to sign. And they would want to make sure that everybody gets out of there at 7:00, And so, I mean, what you are paying for is the autograph. So if you're not able to chat with them, just like understand that you ultimately got what you paid for. And I don't mean to sound like harsh about that, but you're not necessarily paying for time with them. You're just paying for their signature. Anything else is a plus. You can always say like, I love your work. Thank you. Any of those kind words and that might be it. So just don't work up a speech in your head. If you and be sad that you're not able to give that speech.
Yeah. Like when I say chat, like a minute or less. Like that's, hey, I loved your stuff. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, your character means a lot to me. Oh my God, that's so nice to hear. And then like you're out. Like a couple things to hit in there, but like keep it very succinct. I will say too, like come up if you're getting an autograph that's personalized, think of what you want them to write ahead of time. I didn't know that was a thing for autographs. And so I was like working up in my mind what I wanted Hayden to write. Didn't end up mattering anyways, but a lot of people were like, doing I hate sand and you have the high ground, stupid things like that. It's like, think of what you want them to write ahead of time. So you're not panicking in line. And also they make sure to keep it short. So like they'll tell you if it's too long because, you don't want somebody writing the Iliad on your Funko Pop.
Oh man. I have some like generalistic, like I didn't have a place to put this like thoughts.
Yeah.
If you have some time for
Go
that.
for it. Absolutely.
If you're traveling internationally or even potentially locally and you have a very strict limit on your debit or credit card, make sure to call your bank beforehand.
Yeah.
Also, international travel, because we haven't been traveling for very long. If you're coming from Canada or other places, letting your credit card company know that you will be in another country is very recommended.
Yes.
It takes 20 minutes to be on the call and be like, hey, I'm going. And then they put a note and then they don't block your credit card when you're trying to buy something or take an Uber.
Yep.
Speaking of Uber too, download that now. Download Uber and Lyft, like have everything preloaded, because when you get out of the convention center, it's Uber City. Like everybody's getting Ubers. Like just be prepared for transit if you are not in walking distance of where you're staying. So
yeah. And sometimes the Wi-Fi is not great. So if you can't afford to pay for data because you're out of country, do that. I highly recommend making time for people. Like I know Brad, Sarah, you and I are all going to make time for each other, but like if there's somebody that you're like, I cherish this human because of our virtual pocket friendship, because we're all on Twitter together, make time to see them.
Yeah.
You will not regret that.
And to your earlier point, you're not going to remember necessarily the thing you bought. You're going to remember the people you met, right?
Yeah.
I met Sarah again at Star Wars Celebration. You don't know who you might meet at this convention and start a podcast with. Like you just never know. And there were so many people at Celebration Chicago who met each other and like started podcasts.
Who could have started a podcast with Brad, but he chose me. So grateful.
Chose you, yeah. But no, seriously though, like you just never know. Like meet people if you have the chance.
Yeah. I also keep a folder in my Photos app of friends that do not want their photo posted online. So I just pop that in there. I always ask, I'm like, hey, can I post this? And they're like, nah, I looked gross, like, you know, or whatever. But I'm like, I'll keep it, but I won't post it then. And I pop it right into that folder in my photos section. And it's for me, for keeps, but not for the internet, as they say, because I do like posting, like the Raylo meetup was fun to post about and other stuff like that. But sometimes people just aren't comfortable with having their image out there online, especially if they're more of a private person on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I feel like we may or may not have spent the last hour scaring people a little bit.
It's amazing. I'm sorry.
And this is not, that's like a bad thing on us. Like, I think we've been like, here's all the things to look out for. Here's the things to watch out for. Here's the things to think about. But like, this is a really, really great time. And I think, Marie-Claire, like you are hitting the key point. Is like, make time for the people that you care about. Because ultimately it's not about Star Wars. Like it is, but it is about all of us being there together, having a shared experience together, and it's going to be magical no matter what. And the only things you need to do to make it magical are go in with a positive attitude and be open to new experiences. And I get that all of us have different comfort levels and different priorities and interests, but just be open to trying something new, or also know your limits, and navigate that. And like, that's kind of the fun part of it, is you can choose things on the fly and go something and do something totally different than you expected. And that ends up becoming the number one thing that you did the whole weekend. So, that's what makes it all so magical. And it's about the people and not necessarily about the thing. And because like, at the end of the day, we're all there having this connection, and it's emotional and it's exciting. And it's about that emotion rather than the thing. I don't think I'm explaining that super well, but like,
you're right. It goes with the name of the show. Like it's Star Wars Celebration, and you will be overwhelmed by the love of Star Wars by the end of the weekend.
Yeah. And that also just like is really reinvigorating, I think, for both fandom and community and like humanity a little bit too. It's so, yeah.
We've been through so much discourse since 2019, right? Like, we've been through the thick of it. And I think, like you said, celebration is rejuvenation. Like, I think it's a great time now for the fandom and the fan community to kind of like come together again. And like, for me, like, it just blew the doors wide open. And like, my life has changed dramatically because of celebration. And I don't want to say like it's going to change all of yours that same way. It has the power to. And Sarah, you said it best, like with your advice, I think. It's a really, really fascinating weekend. And I think we can start to close out here by previewing some of the panels that we are most excited for. Kind of just going through each day and picking like one or two that are definites on our lists. I thought that would be kind of fun and maybe give some people some ideas. So let's start with Thursday. For me, easy 3. It's the Showcase, the High Republic panel, and of course the Friends of the Forest panel, because like it's us. Got to be there on time. That'd be really embarrassing if we
planning
weren't
on showing up, so that's really awkward.
That would be so awkward, and I would just cry on stage for 50 minutes, and people would be like, "Who is this clown? Who is this guy?"
Lucasfilm Studio Showcase.
It's shrouded in mystery.
There's like no words on what it's going to be, so that'll be really fascinating and interesting. Friends of the Force panel, and I'm kind of feeling the Attack of the Clones music of episode 2, because I just wrapped up my own series on the choral music of the prequels, and I really, really have always loved what David W. Collins has to say on the music of Star Wars. And so I think Attack of the Chords might be something I want to check out.
Yeah.
I'd be using my Lightspeed lane for that.
For sure. I would 210% be there if it didn't overlap with ours. And that was like that was the big thing with this time slot, which we're, over the moon and incredibly grateful for. It's unfathomable. Like I don't even understand how we're here. But that was like before we got that announcement or got that information for us, Brad and I were like, oh my gosh, the Sophie's Choice of the Lucasfilm Publishing panel and the Attack of the Clones music panel.
Nothing now.
And the High Republic, like queer representation in the High Republic panel all at the same time. And then it's like, okay, just kidding. You have a panel at that point. And you're like, okay, just kidding. So like, I get it if anybody chooses a panel that is not ours, because there's a wealth of options, including the 2 most anticipated panels, probably Brad and I, that we would be at if we weren't at our own.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the music panel, I think is going to be huge. And those are super, super fun. Again, the Showcase is like shrouded in mystery. We have no idea what's going to come from there, which could be really, really cool. And for me, like the High Republic panel is another one where I'm just like super excited because it's be the first time that like High Republic fans are together in reality, which is cool. Like,
yeah,
we've all been online this whole time, and the online community is really lovely for High Republic, but we've never been in person before. So that should be cool. I will say there's also a Star Wars Moms panel on the fan stage at like 6 o'clock. And I think that one could be really interesting. I think it has to do with like fandom and motherhood, but also just moms in Star Wars is a topic. In a controversial one, perhaps. But I think that could be an interesting panel as well.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on to Friday. What are you guys feeling for Friday? So this is the good stuff here. This is like an intense day of some really good panels. I've like almost decided, I'm like, yeah, this is the day I'm in panels every single like hour, because it's just I don't know. I can't not choose all of these panels. It's so difficult.
I think it depends on if I get a virtual panel for Light and Magic.
Yeah.
If I don't, I can like watch it online later. I really do want to see my good friend Brandon. Mm-hmm. Like I want to see you guys on the podcast stage. He's doing Talking Bay 94 at the same time as the Light and Magic. So it kind of depends on what I get, because the Light and Magic one is going to be fascinating.
It's like Brandon's dream panel. I feel so bad.
It's Lawrence Kasdan moderating a panel about the magic of Star Wars and in how they create all of those wonderful things.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem fair for Brandon.
It's not. It's really brutal. Definitely both of those I think are going to be really exciting, no matter which one. You know, like if you don't get Light and Magic, Talking Bay 94 is a great place to find yourself, if you ask me. There's also another Lucasfilm Publishing panel. That is all nonfiction titles. So if you like the DK, Abrams, Insight books, those will all be there, which should be really interesting because those reference books are really fun. There's also a Skytalkers panel as well, which I'm really excited about. They have some fun giveaways that I'm excited about, including lanyards. So you can badge check and double lanyard your badge. So it does not go anywhere. But yeah,
Attack of the Clones anniversary celebration.
That's the big one.
That's the biggest one.
one.
That's like if we only go to one panel on Friday, like that's the one for us.
That's gotta be it.
I'm shocked it's not at the start of the day, honestly.
Me too.
So like your lightning lane gotta maybe use that for that, or like I don't know.
But also that is the biggest room. So like that's gonna that's an arena. Again, I went to the website. It holds 7,500 people. So that's, I'm assuming, not in a stage setup. So that's a decent amount of people. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm really looking forward to all the ones that you've mentioned. But some honorable mentions here too is the 35 years of Star Tours. I think that
that's fun.
That could be a really fun panel. As well as Behind the Audiobook, which is all about like the Del Rey original Star Wars adventures. So like, Dr. Aphra, Tempest Runner. So it'll be really cool. This is with producer Nick Martorelli. So that'll be really cool.
I've interviewed him before. He is a good dude.
Yeah,
so,
he knows a lot.
Yeah.
He knows a lot of stuff. So like, that's one to check out because I think the audiobook format is really cool. I'm excited to see. Maybe we'll get an announcement of a new audiobook at the publishing panel. Like what the next one is, whether it's what if it's a Kenobi audiobook? Oh, that would be really cool.
I like it when they do audio dramas. Like Kevin Scott has done quite a few now, and they did the Dr. Aphra one. I really loved it because it kind of comes out first and then you get the script. I love that. And those are Nick's like pride and joy. So yeah.
So yeah, I think those are some great Friday panels. Again, you could see why we would spend all day in panels because those are just, I don't know how you choose, honestly. It's just very difficult. And this is the conundrum of Celebration is you're going to have so many options and you just got to go with what makes the most sense and like not overburden yourself. Explore every aspect of the convention if you can, unless you want to be in panels all day. That's totally cool. Speaking of panels, so Saturday kicks off with a bang, Mando Plus, which I'm sure we'll get a Mando season 3 announcement when that's coming out. Maybe some teases about that.
Ahsoka is considered to be part of this universe. So there's probably going to be some information on that as well as the world in general and what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah. Book of Boba Fett season 2, maybe. Maybe a Bo-Katan show. I think maybe an announcement here could be a Bo-Katan show from Bryce Dallas Howard. I think that's like my boldest prediction of Celebration is she's going to get a series. Because she deserves it. She's really good. I think she could get a movie too, but I also am like worried if she gets a movie, if we'll ever see it. Because there's a lot of movies, there's a lot of movies happening that haven't happened.
And
we'll see.
If you can't get into that because of, virtual panels, I highly recommend Triad of the Force. They're a great podcast who I've been on their podcast. They're great. And I highly recommend that as well as Pink Milk, which are just after that on the podcast stage.
That's a good lineup on Saturday morning for sure.
Oh, I'm making all of the time in the world for This Is the Way, the Mandalorian and Joseph Campbell panel on the fan stage. I know John Booker a little bit through the Joseph Campbell Foundation. So it will be exceptional.
Awesome. I will also say, like, if you're like, no, I don't want to go to Mando Plus, I don't want to go to these podcast stage panels, there's also a Claudia Gray book signing at like Saturday from 11 to noon. So if you're like, I'm going to get my book signed, then that's another time you can do that. If you're a book person, like we are here on the podcast, there are book signings through Mysterious Galaxy Bookshop, who has, I think, been featured as a bookstore of the week here on the podcast during our book reviews, because they're amazing. And also through the Penguin Random House Del Rey booth. So look on the internet for those on their social media specifically, because there is a varied number of signings throughout the day. And lots of cool authors are going to be doing those. I will also say I'm really excited about the cosplay competition on Saturday. Again, as we were talking about earlier, cosplay at this convention is out of this world, amazing, brilliant, stunning. And like the energy in the room for a cosplay competition is always so high. Everybody is cheering for everybody because it's about the craftsmanship and it's about, that person embodying that character. So I think those are really cool places. And like in 2019, I think it was like a giant droid that won. And it was amazing. And I saw it and he's like on stilts.
Was it the K2SO one?
No, it's
Oh.
a big boxy yellow droid, but it's on stilts. I think that one ended up winning, but it was also like put together in like record time or something. So like you can see some really cool out of this world stuff at a cosplay competition. But if you don't make it, you can just see it throughout the floor as well, which is a plus.
Official panels that are happening that I'm like, I don't know if I can fit them in, but I'm going to try to see what I can do. Tales of the Jedi. So that's going to be the short animated thing that we're talking about, as well as Doug Chang's designing the Mandalorian. So that'll be all the concept art and behind the scenes on that.
To hear him speak is like, again,
It's
a
a-
Sophie's choice, because you got the archives panel, which could be really cool
Yep.
too. It's like really hard to,
You got to decide. Like, it's like, what can you do? And then also Del Rey behind the scenes will be good.
also at the same
and
time as a Q&A with Doug Chang and the Lucasfilm art department panel.
Yeah.
Like
That's hard. And in between those two, like there's going to be my What the Force meetup. So if you're a fan of What the Force, come and meet me.
Yes.
yay.
I think you're going to be at the Starbucks.
Yeah,
at
like the Starbucks is
Hilton?
actually like shut down at that time because it closes at like 4, but there's like
weird.
space, there's tables and stuff near there.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's
Cool.
just in the lobby. The lobby area near the Starbucks.
There's also on Saturday a Pride Squadron, queer representation throughout the Star Wars, timeline, which could be another good panel. And there's also the Raylo meetup that's happening on.
Oh yeah, that's happening in the
Saturday.
evening. Yeah, so from 5 to 10. Gates close I think at 9:30. Yeah, so that's actually going to be on the beach.
So
You gotta go there.
Check the socials if you're particularly interested in that one. And we failed to mention a couple meetups earlier. There's the Pink Milk meetup on Thursday. There's the Utini meetup on Saturday.
Podcast
those are like the
meetup
major
one. Yeah.
podcast meetup Thursday at the bar at the Hilton. That's always a really big one. There are lots of things happening after hours. Disney night is on Friday. But if you're not doing Disney night, there are other things happening out and about. So like there's always things happening. There's also the breakfasts, which are now sold out on Saturday and Sunday with Ashley Eckstein and Matt Lanter, which so many things. There's so many things. You can't go wrong is my thought here.
You really can't.
You will have an experience.
Again, you're going to have a good time no matter what. Like no matter what you do, it is celebration. So you will leave happy. And on Sunday, speaking of leaving, it's the sad day. It's the sad day because it all ends. But we got some good panels to close us out. We got a Bad Batch panel, a Visions panel, which I'm hoping for season 2. Behind the scenes, Creatures of Return of the Jedi with our friends over at Blast Points, and they're with Tom Spina, Amy Ratcliffe, and Kirk Thatcher, which like that's
amazing.
Great group of people, like amazing panel to go to. And then every celebration has its closing ceremony, which they'll announce when the next one's happening. Which do you guys have any predictions? They will. Yeah, they'll
I'm
announce
hoping
it.
2 years, but just to give us
Me
a
too.
break. But you forgot the Clone Wars Siege of Mandalore screening.
Oh my gosh.
That's
which
right.
is huge.
Bonkers.
It's crazy that they're going to be showing those episodes in front of like a huge, like it's the celebration stage. So it's 2 hours long. Like that's an intense situation. So
it's a good way to spend your Sunday. And like Carrie Beck will be there. Dave Filoni's going to be there. I forget who else.
Athena Portillo.
Athena Portillo. Yeah. Yep. So that's a good panel. I think they'll talk about the whole thing too. So yeah, I mean that's a must see if you can get there.
Yeah, there's again Sophie's choices throughout the whole day because I can't be at the Siege of Mandalore screening and at the Star Wars Visions panel and at the Creatures of Return of the Jedi panel and at my Kellerman channel photo op at the same time.
It's a packed Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the next celebration will be Orlando, by the way, because I think they're going to want to do the other park.
I think so
for the next one. So
which makes it
expect that
so expensive.
Yeah, so much capitalism. Come on.
You don't think that they'll do Europe?
I'll probably
like
go
Paris or something.
Europe would be my preference. I think that would be super awesome.
It's like Euro Disney.
I think they're probably going to go with Orlando and then Europe. But I could be wrong. Europe would be really cool. I would love Paris. That'd be sweet. And go eat some baguettes.
You do love bread.
Yeah. Hopefully they have some good gluten-free baguettes.
You love bread. It hates you.
I know. Oh, you can't spell bread. You can't spell bread without Brad. I mean, come on.
It's very true.
Canceled. Canceled. We're done. I can't do this.
Well, I think we're near the end of the show. And so I want to ask you, Marie-Claire, just your final thoughts on Celebration, your excitement for it, whatever you want to say to close us out.
I'm really excited to see people. It's just like so simple. Like, I'm going to see people. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and like anything past that will be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a great mentality to go into the weekend. It's the people that make Star Wars what it is, right? Like, it's not called Star Wars Con. It's called Star Wars Celebration. And you can only celebrate with other people. Although you can have a celebration by yourself. That's totally cool. Like, party in your house, dance around the kitchen. That's totally fine.
Is legitimate.
Yeah. But getting to celebrate and like unify and experience Star Wars together, like it is those big panels where you hear the news and everybody erupts and you never forget where you were in that moment, right? So that's what makes it what it is the people. So gosh, I can't believe we're almost there. I'm still anxious and want to throw up, and I also want to sleep at the same time. I don't know what I'm feeling anymore. I'm all like buzzing and vibrating with excitement. Can't wait. Alrighty. Well, that about wraps up our Celebration preview here at Friends of the Force. Marie-Claire, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a very long time. Last time you were with us was the Ben Solo read along, which was like April of 2020. So that was a long time ago, onset of COVID, and we're still here. So where can our folks find you online? What do you got going on? What do they need to know about?
I have a Star Wars podcast named What the Force. And if you want to see what I'm coming out with, I'm planning on doing a deep dive show, much like my Friends of the Force here. Just primarily focused on like the symbolism and mythology and mythological interconnections. I feel like it adds quite a bit of deep dive analysis to the show. And I'm particularly excited for Kenobi. You can follow me on WT Force Show on Twitter, or find me on any of the podcatchers or on YouTube for the episodes.
Amazing. And as for us here at Friends of the Force, you can find us on Twitter at Friends of Force or Instagram at Friends of the Force. And we also are on any podcast platform that you listen to. So make sure you're subscribed to the show. Leave us a rating if you'd be so kind, especially as we near Celebration. And, you know, if people are looking up our podcast for the first time, they want to see your lovely rating right when they open the podcast app. Please help us out. Maybe find some new listeners.
We also have a Patreon where tiers start at just $1, and we are super grateful for our patrons. I don't even have the words really, but thank you to Amy, Anna, Brian, Carol, Cheryl, Clay, Danny, Davis, Dylan, Deborah, Donnie, Elegy, Huang, Jen, Knights of Ren, Levi, Leanne, Lindsay, Lucy, Luke, Randy, Rob, Saber Bouquet, Sky Talkers, Travis, and T.
Thank you all so much for supporting the show. We hope to see many of you in Celebration. This is our last episode before then, so get hyped because we got so much fun stuff coming out in like the weeks to come. Marie-Claire, thank you so much. Cannot wait to see you in Anaheim in a couple of days. It's going to be so much fun. Hope to see many of you at Denny's. And until then, may the Force be with you always.